The Galactic Coalition station hung in space like a massive wheel of light and metal. Ships from 100 different worlds docked at its ports every day. Inside its curved halls, beings of all shapes and sizes walked together, traded goods, and made deals that shaped the future of planets. Dane worked in the lower engineering section of the station. He was a human, which meant most other species barely noticed him. Humans were new to the Galactic Coalition. They had only joined 15 years ago, and many aliens still saw them as the newcomers who had little to offer. The engineering bay was Dane's favorite place. Surrounded by humming machines and glowing panels, he spent his days fixing broken systems and improving old designs. He was good at his work, even if nobody gave him much credit for it. Today, Dane was repairing a cooling unit when his communication device beeped. He wiped his hands on his work clothes and checked the message. His face broke into a smile. "Taking lunch break early today?" asked his co-worker, a six-armed Threxian named Pool. "Meeting someone special," Dane replied. Pool's multiple eyes blinked with curiosity. "The Korvathi woman again." "Dane, my friend, you know people talk." "Let them talk," Dane said simply. He grabbed his jacket and headed for the door. The central plaza of the station was always crowded during mid-cycle. This was when most species took their rest period. The massive open space featured gardens from different worlds, water fountains that floated in mid-air, and dozens of food vendors selling meals from across the galaxy. Dane spotted Rin immediately. She stood near the fountain of first contact, and as always she took his breath away. Rin was Korvathi, a species known throughout the galaxy as fierce warriors. Her skin had a crystalline quality that caught the light, shifting between deep blue and purple depending on how she moved. She stood nearly 7 feet tall with a build that showed obvious strength. Her people were naturally stronger than most species, with dense muscle and bones that could withstand incredible force. But what Dane loved most was her smile, which she gave him now as he approached. "You are late," Rin said, but her tone was warm. "Sorry, the cooling unit fought back," Dane joked. Next to her impressive height, he felt small. He was average for a human, but that meant he barely reached her shoulder. They walked together through the plaza, talking about their days. Rin worked as a military liaison for the Korvathi delegation on the station. It was important work, but she often told Dane that she found it boring compared to their conversations. "My father sent another message," Rin said quietly. "What did he say this time?" "The same as always. That I am dishonoring our family, that I should return home and forget this foolishness." She looked at Dane with eyes that held both sadness and determination. "He means you." "He calls you foolishness," Dane took her hand. His fingers barely wrapped around her larger palm, but the gesture made her smile. "Do you think this is foolish?" "No," Rin said firmly. "I think you are the least foolish person I have ever met." They had met 6 months ago when a power failure trapped them in the same transit tube. While others panicked, Dane had calmly worked to restore the emergency systems while Rin kept everyone peaceful. They talked for 2 hours in that tube, and Dane found himself fascinated by this warrior woman who quoted poetry and spoke about the beauty of distant nebulas. After that day, they kept finding reasons to meet. Conversations became lunches. Lunches became long walks through the station gardens, and somewhere along the way, Dane realized he had fallen in love with her. The problem was that Rin's people did not approve. The Korvathi valued strength above everything. Their entire culture was built around combat prowess and physical power. They respected species that could match them in battle. They had no respect for humans, who they saw as weak and fragile. When Rin told her family about Dane, they were furious. They demanded she end the relationship. When she refused, they sent Thex. "Speaking of unwelcome reminders," Rin muttered, her body tensing. Dane followed her gaze and saw a group of Korvathi entering the plaza. There were 5 of them, all warriors, all wearing the traditional armor of their homeworld. The one in the front was the largest, standing even taller than Rin, with broader shoulders and skin that gleamed like polished stone. Thex. Rin's former betrothed, the Korvathi group walked directly toward them. Other species in the plaza moved out of their way quickly. The Korvathi had a reputation, and most people preferred not to get in their path. "Rin," Thex said, his voice deep and commanding. "We need to speak." "I have nothing to say to you, Thex," Rin replied. Thex's eyes moved to Dane. The look was not friendly. "So this is the human." The creature you have chosen to disgrace yourself with. Watch your words, Rin warned. Why? Am I supposed to pretend this is acceptable? Thex looked around the plaza, raising his voice. The daughter of House Korvath, descendant of champions, has decided to attach herself to a soft skin. People were stopping to watch now. Dane felt dozens of eyes turning toward them. Thex, leave us alone, Rin said. What I do with my life is no longer your concern. It is the concern of all Korvathi, Thex declared. You shame our entire species with this choice. Look at him. He pointed at Dane. He is barely half your size. He has no armor, no natural weapons, no strength worth mentioning. His species has no warrior tradition. What could you possibly see in such a weak creature? Dane felt anger rising in his chest, but he kept quiet. Rin had warned him about Korvathi honor challenges. If he responded with insults, it could make things worse. You know nothing about him, Rin said, her voice cold. Dane has qualities your warrior brain cannot understand. Qualities? Thex laughed and his companions joined in. Please enlighten me. What qualities does this human possess? He is kind. He is thoughtful. He solves problems with his mind instead of his fists. He sees beauty in things you would never notice. He makes me laugh. He listens when I speak. He treats me as an equal, not as property to be won. Rin stepped closer to Thex. He is twice the person you ever were. The plaza had gone quiet. At least 50 beings were watching the confrontation now. Thex's crystalline skin darkened, a sign of anger in Korvathi physiology. You compare me to this human? I have won 17 honor duels. I have commanded troops in 3 campaigns. I have brought glory to my family name. What has he done? He fixed the life support system that keeps this entire sector running. Rin shot back. He designed a new recycling process that saves the station thousands of credits each cycle. He volunteers at the multi-species school, teaching younglings about engineering. He does meaningful work that helps people. Engineers, Thex spat the word like a curse. We have machines for such tasks. A worthy male proves himself through strength and combat. Your definition of worthy is limited and sad, Rin said. Thex turned to address the growing crowd. Hear me, all who are present. This is what becomes of Korvathi, who spend too long away from home. They forget who they are. They forget what matters. They debase themselves with inferior species, murmurs ran through the crowd. Dane saw some aliens nodding in agreement. Others looked uncomfortable. A few seemed to find the whole situation entertaining. I am not debasing myself, Rin said loudly. I am choosing my own path. A path that leads to dishonor, Thex replied. He turned back to Dane, looking him up and down with obvious contempt. Tell me, human, what makes you think you are worthy of a Korvathi female? Have you won any battles? Do you have any accomplishments that matter? Dane met his eyes. I make Rin happy. That is my accomplishment. Some people in the crowd made sounds of appreciation at this answer. Others laughed. Thex was not amused. Happiness. You offer her happiness like she is some weak creature who needs emotional comfort. Rin is a warrior. She needs a strong mate who can stand beside her in combat, who can give her strong offspring, who brings honor to her family name. I need someone who sees me as more than a warrior. Rin interrupted. You never did, Thex. None of our people do. You see my strength and my family name. Dane sees me. Pretty words, Thex said dismissively. They mean nothing. Your family has already declared their position. If you continue this relationship with the human, you will be cut off from House Korvath. Your name will be removed from the family records. You will be treated as an exile. Rin's face showed pain, but her voice remained steady. Then I will be in exile. Thex shook his head slowly. I did not want it to come to this. I hoped you would see reason, but you force my hand. He straightened to his full height, his voice taking on a formal tone. I, Thex of House Morath, issue a challenge of worth. Let it be witnessed by all present. The crowd reacted immediately. Gasps and excited whispers spread through the plaza. Even species unfamiliar with Korvathi customs seemed to sense something significant was happening. Rin's eyes went wide. No, Thex, you cannot. It is already done, Thex said. The words are spoken before witnesses. The challenge is official. Dane leaned close to Rin. What is a challenge of worth? An old tradition, Rin said quietly, her voice shaking. It is used when someone's choice of mate is questioned. The challenged person must prove their chosen partner is worthy according to Korvathi standards. How do I prove that? Trials in the challenge arena. Tests of strength, combat, endurance. She gripped his hand tightly. Dane, these trials are designed for Korvathi. No human could pass them. Thex smiled, showing teeth. The human understands. The challenge of worth will take place in 3 cycles. If Dane cannot prove himself worthy in the arena, then by Korvathi law, Rin must acknowledge her choice was wrong. She will be exiled from our people for her poor judgment, and her family honor will be stained. This is manipulation, Rin said angrily. You know he cannot pass trials meant for our species. Then perhaps you should have chosen a mate from our species, Thex replied. But there is an alternative. Dane can refuse the challenge. If he admits he is unworthy and leaves you now, your family will forgive this mistake. You can return home with your honor intact. All eyes turned to Dane. He felt the weight of their stares. His heart was beating fast and his mouth felt dry. Everything Rin said was true. He was not a warrior. He had no combat training. He could not match Korvathi's strength. But he looked at Rin, saw the fear and sadness in her eyes, and knew his answer. I accept the challenge, Dane said clearly. The crowd erupted in conversation. Thex looked surprised for a moment, then pleased. Rin looked horrified. Dane, no, she said. You do not understand what you are agreeing to. I understand that I love you, Dane said simply. I understand that Thex is trying to take you away from me by scaring me off. I will not be scared off. This is not about bravery. This is about survival. The trials could seriously harm you. The challenge has been accepted, Thex announced loudly. 3 cycles from now at the main challenge arena, Dane of Earth will face the trial of worth. All are invited to witness. He looked at Dane with something like pity. You are either very brave or very stupid, human. I have not decided which. Thex and his companions left the plaza. The crowd slowly dispersed, everyone talking excitedly about what they had just witnessed. Dane knew the story would spread through the entire station within hours. Rin pulled Dane to a quiet corner of the plaza. Why did you accept? You must withdraw the acceptance. There is still time. I cannot do that. Yes, you can. I will handle my family's disappointment. I will deal with exile if necessary. I will not watch you hurt yourself trying to pass impossible tests. Dane took both her hands in his. Rin, if I back down, you lose everything. Your family, your people, your honor. I cannot let that happen. And if you fail the trials, I lose you, Rin said, her voice breaking. That is worse than losing anything else. I will not fail. How? Dane, be realistic. You are wonderful in so many ways, but you are not a Korvathi warrior. The trials will break you. Maybe I do not need to be a Korvathi warrior, Dane said thoughtfully. Maybe I just need to be a human who is smart enough to find another way. There is no other way. The challenge of worth has stood unchanged for thousands of years. Every system has variables, Dane said, his engineering mind already working. Every challenge has rules. Rules can be understood, and if they can be understood, they can be worked with. Rin looked at him with a mixture of love and fear. You cannot engineer your way out of a combat trial. We will see, Dane said. I have 3 cycles. First, I need to learn everything about the challenge of worth. Every rule, every precedent, every detail. Why? Because information is a tool, and I am very good with tools. Over the next 3 cycles, the station talked about nothing else. The human who accepted a Korvathi challenge of worth became the biggest story on Haven 9. People made bets on how quickly Dane would fail. Some admired his courage. Most thought he was foolish. Dane spent almost no time training physically. Instead, he disappeared into the station archives, reading everything he could find about Korvathi challenges. He studied their history, their customs, their laws. Rin tried to help, though she remained convinced this would end badly. There has never been a non-Korvathi who passed a challenge of worth, she told him on the 2nd cycle. Then I will be the first, Dane replied, not looking up from his reading. He also spent long hours in his engineering bay building something. When Rin asked what, he just smiled and said it was insurance. On the morning of the 3rd cycle, Dane appeared calm. Rin was a mess of nerves. You can still withdraw, she said for the 100th time. I love you, Dane said. That means I am doing this. The challenge arena was located in the station's largest open space. When Dane and Rin arrived, they found thousands of spectators already gathered. Word had spread beyond the station. Ships had arrived from nearby systems just so people could witness this unusual event. The arena itself was a massive circular space, with seating rising up on all sides. At the center was an empty floor that could be programmed to create any environment or obstacle. Holographic projectors, force fields, and advanced technology made it possible to simulate almost any challenge imaginable. Thex stood in the center of the arena, wearing traditional Korvathi ceremonial armor. His companions surrounded him. The Korvathi delegation occupied an entire section of seats, all watching with serious expressions. Commander Oren, the station administrator, stood at the arena control podium. Oren was a Velusian, a species known for their fairness and diplomatic skills. Their translucent bodies shimmered as they spoke. "We are gathered to witness a challenge of worth, issued by Thex of House Morath against Dane of Earth, regarding his worthiness as mate to Rin of House Korvath. Does the challenger stand ready?" "I stand ready," Thex called out. "Does the challenged stand ready?" Dane stepped forward from the entrance tunnel. The crowd noise swelled. Thousands of eyes focused on the small human walking toward the center of the massive arena. He looked up at Rin in the observation section. She pressed her hand against the transparent barrier. He raised his hand to match hers, then turned to face Thex. "I stand ready," Dane said. His voice did not shake. Commander Oren's voice echoed through the arena. "The challenge of worth will now commence. Thex, as the challenger, you may set the terms of the trial according to Korvathi law." Thex smiled confidently. "I choose trials of strength and combat endurance, as is traditional. The human will face 3 tests. First, the breaking of stones. Second, the gauntlet of warriors. Third, single combat with me. If he fails any test, he is deemed unworthy." The crowd murmured with anticipation. These were classic Korvathi trials, designed to showcase raw physical power. Rin closed her eyes in despair. There was no possible way Dane could break Korvathi strength stones or survive a warrior gauntlet. But Dane raised his hand. "I invoke Section 12 of the ancient challenge laws." The arena went silent. Even Thex looked confused. "What are you talking about?" "Section 12 of the Challenge of Worth laws," Dane repeated, his voice carrying through the space. "Written by the founder of House Korvath herself, Warrior Queen Scylla, approximately 4,000 years ago. I spent the last 3 cycles reading your people's history. Very thorough record-keeping, by the way." Commander Oren quickly accessed the archive database. Their translucent features showed surprise. Section 12 does exist. It states, "When worthiness is challenged, the challenge party may choose the nature of the trial from 3 categories: strength, strategy, or survival. The choice reflects the qualities they claim to possess." Thex's confident expression faded slightly. "That law has not been used in centuries." "But it still exists," Dane said. "Your ancestor wrote it because she believed worthiness could be proven in different ways. She was wise enough to understand that not all value comes from physical strength alone." Commander Oren nodded. "The law is clear and still valid. Dane, you may choose the category of your trial." "I choose survival," Dane announced. The crowd exploded with conversation. Korvathi survival trials were legendary, but rarely used in modern times. They were considered more difficult than strength trials because they required not just power, but also intelligence, endurance, and adaptability. Thex recovered from his surprise. "Very well. If the human wants a survival trial, he shall have one. I select the Burning Waste simulation." "No," Commander Oren interrupted. "According to Section 12, if the challenge chooses the category, they also choose the specific trial from the approved historical list. Thex, you issued the challenge, but Dane has the right to select which survival trial to face." Thex looked angry now. "This is a manipulation of tradition. This is following the law your own people wrote," Dane replied calmly. "I choose the Maze of Korth." Gasps came from the Korvathi section. Even Thex looked shocked. "The Maze of Korth has not been used in over 200 years, Thex said. "It is considered too dangerous." "But it is on the approved list," Dane said. "I checked." Commander Oren confirmed this. "The Maze of Korth is indeed an authorized trial. It was created as the ultimate test of a warrior's ability to survive through adaptation and understanding, not just force. Both participants must enter the maze. The first to reach the center and claim the victory marker wins. The maze will generate environmental hazards and obstacles. Both participants?" Rin called out from the observation deck. "Thex must enter as well?" That is the nature of the maze of Korth, Orin explained. The challenger and challenged face it together but separately. It tests whether the challenged person can survive better than the one who questioned their worth. Thex's face showed uncertainty now, but he was trapped by honor. I accept these terms. A Korvathi warrior fears no challenge. Begin preparation, Commander Orin announced. The trial will commence in 10 minutes. The arena floor shimmered and began to transform. Walls rose from the ground. Pathways formed and holographic elements mixed with solid matter to create a massive, complex maze. The ceiling projectors activated, creating a sky that flickered between day and night randomly. Temperature controls made different sections of the maze hot or cold. Dane walked back to the preparation area where Rin waited. The maze of Korth, she said, gripping his shoulders. Dane, this is still incredibly dangerous. The maze generates hazards, falling walls, temperature extremes, unstable ground. People have been seriously injured in this trial. I know, Dane said. I read 73 historical accounts of this challenge. I know exactly what I am getting into. Then why choose it? Because it is not about strength. It is about understanding patterns, reading the environment, and adapting to change. These are things humans are very good at. He smiled at her. Trust me. I do trust you, Rin said. I am just terrified of losing you. You will not lose me, Dane promised. He kissed her hand. Watch carefully. I am about to show your people what a human can do. He walked back into the arena. Thex stood at one entrance to the maze, Dane at another on the opposite side. The center was hidden from view, deep within the twisting passages. Commander Orin raised their hand. The trial begins now. May both participants demonstrate their worth. A signal echoed through the arena. Thex immediately charged into the maze, using his superior speed to rush forward. Dane entered calmly, his eyes already scanning the walls and pathways. The audience watched through hovering camera drones that followed both participants. Split screens showed Thex's progress and Dane's simultaneously. Thex moved with pure aggression. When he encountered a wall, he smashed through it using his Korvathi strength. When the pathway split, he chose directions based on instinct. His approach was direct and forceful. Dane moved differently. At each intersection, he paused to observe. He noticed scorch marks on certain walls indicating where fire hazards had activated. He saw wear patterns on the floor showing which paths were used more frequently by the maze's shifting mechanisms. He touched walls to feel vibrations that indicated moving sections. What is the human doing? Someone in the crowd asked. He is barely moving forward. He is thinking, another voice answered. Look, he is studying the maze. Thex triggered the first hazard when he rushed around a corner. A section of floor dropped away, but his quick reflexes let him jump across. He landed hard and kept running, ignoring the close call. Dane reached the same section later. He had noticed the seams in the floor from 10 feet away. He carefully walked around the edge where the mechanism support beams were located, never triggering the trap at all. Clever, Commander Orin observed from the control podium. The maze shifted, as was its nature. Walls rotated, new paths opened, and obstacles moved. Thex roared in frustration when a path he was on suddenly closed. He punched the wall that had appeared, denting the metal, then backtracked to find another route. Dane had stopped moving when the shift began. He stood still, eyes closed, listening. The maze's mechanisms made sounds when they activated, gears turning, hydraulics hissing, locks clicking into place. He built a mental map of what was moving and where. When the shifting stopped, Dane opened his eyes and chose a new path that had just become available. This route took him closer to the center. The human is actually gaining ground, a commentator noted with surprise. Thex noticed this too when he checked a drone display. His pride stung. He moved even faster, accepting more risks. When he encountered a corridor filled with extreme heat, he powered through it. His Korvathi physiology able to withstand high temperatures better than most species. Dane arrived at the same corridor and immediately recognized he could not cross it safely. Instead of forcing his way through, he examined the walls. He found a maintenance panel, opened it using a tool from his belt, and studied the controls inside. Is that allowed? Thex's supporter called out. The rules state participants must reach the center using their abilities, Commander Orin replied. The human's ability includes technical knowledge. There is no rule against using the maze's own systems. Dane made an adjustment to the panel. The heat corridor's temperature dropped to normal levels. He walked through comfortably, then reset the system behind him so the maze would continue functioning properly. The Korvathi section was muttering now. This was not how challenges were supposed to work. Warriors faced obstacles with strength and courage, not by understanding technical systems, but Rin was smiling. "That is my Dane," she whispered. Both participants were getting closer to the center now. The hazards increased in difficulty. Walls that moved faster, floors that tilted at sharp angles, sections that filled with water or darkness. Thex handled each with raw determination. He was bruised and tired, but he kept pushing forward. His warrior training had prepared him for endurance challenges. Dane handled the same obstacles with careful observation. When faced with a tilting floor, he noticed the pattern of the tilts and timed his movement. When darkness fell, he used the echo of his footsteps to navigate. When water flooded a passage, he found a higher path along a maintenance ledge. They reached the final approach to the center at nearly the same time, entering from different angles. The center chamber was visible now, a circular room with the victory marker glowing on a pedestal, but between each of them and the center was one last obstacle. The floor was made of segments that randomly dropped away, creating a deadly puzzle. One wrong step would send a person falling into a safety net far below, which meant automatic failure. Thex studied the floor, then made his move. He jumped from stable section to stable section, using his powerful legs to cover large distances. His approach was working until he landed on a segment that immediately began to drop. He leaped desperately to another section, barely making it. Dane approached his side of the puzzle floor differently. He picked up a small piece of debris and tossed it onto a floor segment. The segment held. He tossed another piece onto a different segment. That one dropped. He was testing them. Smart, Rin breathed. After testing 6 segments, Dane noticed something. The segments that dropped had slightly different coloring, barely visible unless you were looking carefully. The safe segments were a shade lighter. The maze designers had left a clue, probably never expecting anyone to be observant enough to notice it. Dane walked across the puzzle floor calmly, stepping only on the lighter segments. He never triggered a single drop. Thex was halfway across his side when he saw Dane moving so confidently. Distracted, he misstepped. The segment under his foot dropped. Thex fell with a shout of surprise, caught by the safety net below. According to the rules, he had failed. Dane continued forward and reached the center chamber. He placed his hand on the victory marker. The arena erupted with sound. Cheers, shouts of disbelief, arguments, and applause all mixed together. Commander Oren's voice cut through the noise. Dane of Earth has reached the center first and claimed victory. The challenge of worth is concluded. Dane is declared worthy. Dane was breathing hard, tired from the mental concentration required. But he had won. Thex climbed out of the safety net, his face dark with shame. He had lost to a human. A creature he had called weak and unworthy had beaten him. The maze walls lowered back into the floor. Thex walked across the arena toward Dane. Everyone watched, wondering what would happen now. Thex stopped in front of Dane. For a long moment, he just stared. Then slowly he did something that shocked every Korvathi present. He bowed. "I challenged your strength and found it lacking," Thex said formally. "But I see now that humans measure strength differently. You have courage. You have wisdom. You have honor. These make you worthy." The Korvathi section was in chaos. Warriors did not bow to those they challenged. But Thex was following an older tradition, one that honored truth over pride. "You could have left me when the floor trap caught me," Thex continued. "You could have laughed at my failure. But you simply completed your task. You never tried to humiliate me. You only tried to prove yourself. That is the mark of a true warrior." Regardless of species, Dane nodded respectfully. "You issued a fair challenge according to your laws. I simply answered it according to my abilities." "Your abilities are greater than I understood," Thex admitted. He turned to address the entire arena. "I was wrong. I let prejudice and jealousy blind me. Humans may not have our strength, but they have qualities we have overlooked. Perhaps there is more than one way to be worthy." He looked up at Rin in the observation section. "I withdraw all objections to your union. Dane has proven himself through trial. By our laws, he has earned the right to stand as your mate." Rin was already running down to the arena floor. She burst through the entrance and ran to Dane, lifting him off his feet in an embrace. The crowd's noise reached deafening. Levels. Commander Oren officially declared. "Let it be recorded. that Dane of Earth has successfully completed the Challenge of Worth. His union with Rin of House Korvath is recognized by Korvathi law and coalition authority. Over the next hours, the story spread across the station and beyond. The human who beat a Korvathi challenge became news throughout the sector. Representatives from other species approached Dane, viewing humans with new interest. If one human could accomplish this, what else might humanity be capable of? The Korvathi delegation had a heated internal discussion. Tradition demanded they accept the trial's outcome, but many struggled with accepting a human as worthy. However, Thex's public acknowledgement carried weight. As a respected warrior, his word mattered. Finally, a senior Korvathi official approached Dane and Rin. The challenge is concluded fairly. House Korvath will accept this union, though with reservation. You have proven yourself by our own laws, human. We cannot dispute this. It was not warm acceptance. But it was acceptance nonetheless. That evening, Dane and Rin stood together in the observation deck, watching ships come and go through the station's docking ports. You realize what you have done? Rin asked. You have changed how the Korvathi view humans, how many species view humans. I just wanted to keep you, Dane said simply. You did more than that. You showed that human strengths are different but equally valid. You did not try to become a Korvathi. You proved that being human was enough, Dane smiled. I cannot outpunch a Korvathi, but I can outthink a maze. Rin laughed, the sound full of joy and relief. My clever human. I knew I chose well. No more challenges? Dane asked hopefully. No more challenges, Rin promised. Though I think you have started something. Other humans on the station have been getting more respect today. Your actions reflected on all of them. Good, Dane said. Humans have a lot to offer the galaxy. We just needed a chance to show it. They stood together as stars glittered beyond the station's windows. Two beings from different worlds who had faced mockery and opposition, now recognized by law and witnessed by thousands. The next day, Dane returned to his engineering bay. Poole greeted him with enthusiastic congratulations using all 6 arms. The whole station is talking about you. The human who beat the Korvathi challenge. I just followed the rules, Dane said modestly. You did more than that. You made people see humans differently. 3 different departments have requested human consultants today. Suddenly everyone wants human problem solvers on their teams, Dane smiled. That was unexpected but welcome. Rin continued her work as military liaison, but now when she spoke, other delegations listened more carefully. The mate of the human who beat the maze of Korth clearly had good judgment. Messages came from Earth from the Human Coalition Council. They were proud and amazed. Dane's actions had opened new opportunities for human diplomacy across the sector. But for Dane and Rin, the most important outcome was simple. They could be together without shame, without threats, without constant opposition. 1 month later, they formalized their union in a ceremony that combined human and Korvathi traditions. Representatives from dozens of species attended. Even Thex came offering formal congratulations and a traditional Korvathi blessing. May your union be strong, Thex said. May it produce understanding between our peoples. Thank you, Rin replied. Your honor in accepting defeat made this possible, Thex nodded. I learned something in that maze. Strength without wisdom is incomplete. Perhaps Korvathi have focused too much on one and not enough on the other. It was a small admission, but significant coming from a Korvathi warrior. The ceremony celebrated not just a union between 2 individuals, but a bridge between 2 species. Humans and Korvathi began cautiously exploring mutual respect, learning from each other's different strengths, and it all started because one human engineer loved an alien woman enough to face impossible odds because he refused to let others define what he could or could not, because he proved that worthiness comes in many forms, and courage is not just about strength, but about standing up for what matters most. Dane and Rin's story spread across the galaxy, carried by traders and travelers. It became a tale told on many worlds with one simple message. Never underestimate humanity. They may not be the strongest or the fastest or the most powerful, but they are clever, determined, and when they love, they will move mountains to protect it, or in Dane's case, navigate an impossible maze. And sometimes that makes all the difference.